It's Monday, and that means we are doing a mock draft for everybody in the first round. Even though that's changed a little bit this week, everybody's moving around the league, and we're going to try to make heads or tails of it. Welcome to Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and NFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my guy, my co-host, Ryan Tracy. Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics. And, we want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That's BetOnline, where the games start. So, all right, man, you already know what it is. Today is Mock Draft Monday, and we are getting into that. Indeed, we are doing something a little different. We went through basically, I picked 5, he picked 5, and we kind of alternated that throughout the draft. So it started with me, and I picked 1. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher out of Michigan. At pick 2, I have the Detroit Lions taking Kayvon Thibodeau, edge rusher out of Oregon. At pick 3, Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. At pick 4, Evan Neal going to the New York Jets. All right, playing offensive tackle, and then out of Alabama. And then at pick 5, New York Giants select Equinu, offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. So first, anything that kind of stands out to you there, or any shockers with any of those guys I have, where they have them going?
No, I'm super happy to see you leave Hamilton at number 3 because, within the wake of Deshaun Watson, everybody's like, what are they going to do now? Are they going to take a quarterback at 3? And there's still not one that is deserving of the number 3 pick. So I'm just glad that you're on the same wave like I am. I cannot see a quarterback going in there, whatever happens.
And also, I think they like Davis Mills
Mm-hmm.
more than I think he's getting credit for right now. Everybody just writes him off. And one thing that's very clear and apparent with fan bases, or at least fan bases that aren't as plugged in, dialed in to the Houston Texans organization, they feel like if you're not drafted really high, then your development curve, it just doesn't matter. Unless maybe you just come in and light it up, maybe like what you saw from Dak Prescott as a rookie. And obviously he had a tremendous team with Dallas Cowboys being selected 4th round, having Ezekiel Elliott and a lot of those guys, and they ended up going 13-3, and I think they lost the game at the end of the year, but that was only because they played their starters for like literally one possession. So
Right.
I think when it comes to Davis Mills, he's kind of the forgotten guy in this class, but I'd go on record and say I don't think that any rookie quarterback from last year's class played any better or worse than him. He had his ups, he had his downs. But I thought his ups were really good. Had a big-time game against the New England Patriots, where he threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 turnovers, or 0 interceptions. So, I don't know. There's a lot. And he had much better games than that. Obviously, at the end of the game, kind of being the kind of nail in the coffin with the L.A. Chargers, beating those guys out there. So, had some good wins. I thought he played well. Has a lot of upside. A guy that only had 13 starts. And, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of people that are assuming a team might try to trade for a quarterback like a Baker Mayfield or a Jimmy Garoppolo, or even draft a quarterback this high, but I'm not seeing it. So I like that you pointed that out. Kyle Hamilton, I think that's a better fit.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I like both the tackle spots. New York gets stronger at the tackle position across the board, both teams. I like what you did there. I kind of try to pick up on that trend and continue it. So at 6, I gave the Panthers Charles Cross. They were in the Deshaun thing, didn't happen. So they're still, iffy at quarterback. I don't, again, think it's too high there. Could they be in the Garoppolo mix? Could they end up with Mayfield after all this fallout? Who knows? But I figure either way, you got to do your best to protect whoever is calling the shots for you. That's the way to do it. And I was real happy when I saw what you did with the edge rushers, because the Giants are pumped to get Trayvon Walker at 7 and not had to go up there and try to trade up or anything like that. I think he's a guy that, in terms of the circles around the league, he's climbing really fast. Again, not the refined hand usage for an edge rusher, more of a guy that can do a little bit of everything, but that athleticism just comes through, and that projection to the edge, I think, is all there, and a lot of teams are going to be in on it. I came back with Jermaine Johnson to the Falcons because he's got just not a rocket, but a nice steady climb that teams seem to be more impressed with him as the process goes on. We'll see how it goes at the pro day as well. Then what I did think was, if anybody's going to take a chance, and yes, you could ride with Drew Lock if you're John Schneider, I can't let that happen because I've seen too much film of Drew Lock. I have to go do something. I either trade out of this or I take Malik Willis. So I gave them Willis in this draft because I think they can do something with what they have. And it's a spot that I think that they can nurture and bring Willis along. Yes, he has some things he has to work on. He's by no means a finished product. We all know that. But I think if you're going to have a chance to survive there, I think it's a decent spot. They're going to support him with the run. They're going to do what they can. And then to help the Jets out that much more at 10, I came back with Sauce Gardner, kind of round that out for them and give them another piece. They've been adding on the offense. Now they can bolster the defense a little bit more as well.
Yeah, so a few things here, man. I mean, one, and I want to ask you about the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, you had them taking offensive tackle, which they need a ton of help on the offensive line. But do you think that's a team that could, potentially reach for a quarterback? Because you have Malik Willis going number 9 to the Seattle Seahawks. But the Panthers, they've made it clear they're not very high on Sam Darnold right now. And you also stated that they were in the running for Deshaun Watson. This is maybe their opportunity kind of, I don't want to say reset, but okay, you got Sam Darnold, bringing a guy like Malik Willis or even a Cody Pickett, who we have kind of going a little bit later. But I could potentially see Carolina maybe going quarterback, just maybe. I do like Trayvon Walker, and I like how you talked about, just areas he needs to improve. But, utilize him as more of a pure edge and let him pin his ears back and get upfield. That'll be something with his ability that teams really like. And then the Jets one, we'll see. Obviously, I love Ahmad Gardner. They did spend a bunch of money on DJ Reed. He came over from Seattle, 3 years, $30 million. And then they have Bryce Hall. But, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, he's one of those guys. If he's there, do you take him regardless of if you kind of put a little bit of resources into that position? That's something that we will definitely keep an eye on and look forward to. When we come back, we have Washington. They will be on the clock. Washington, Minnesota, Houston again, and a couple other teams. What will they do with their picks? But first, definitely want to talk to you a little bit about Built Bar. All right. It's really that time of the year now where a lot of people have given up on the New Year's resolutions, but Built Bar, they're going to make it to where you don't have to give up on it just yet. Have you tried the Built Bar Puffs? If you haven't, you are missing out. It's pretty much the best Built Bar that they have, and they have a ton of flavors that will be just right for you. The Built Bar Puffs are also covered in 100% real chocolate, which I don't know how they do that with the Built Bar Puff, but it tastes really good. They have all kind of different flavors with the puffs. You have yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie, and I bet those will all be your new favorites. Our Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, the puffs included. Low calorie, high in protein. Replace that with any candy bar. All right, these are better. And a typical candy bar, it can have 200 to 300 calories in it. Go to Built.com right now and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away by the high in protein, low in calorie, high fiber, and low carbs that it has. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has about 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. All right, mint brownie, coconut almond, and new flavors all the time, including white chocolate, cookies, and cream. They are all delicious, and they have new flavors coming out all the time. In fact, if you can think of a flavor, they might come up with it, and if they do, it'll be really good. To get in on all of these Built Bars right now, go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, and get 15% off of your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. We want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Make sure you're following Locked On NFL. All right, they got all the local experts covering the biggest stories around the NFL every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, here we go. So with the next 5 coming up, we got the Washington Commanders on the clock. And I have them taking Garrett Wilson, wide receiver at Ohio State, first receiver off of the board here. You have the Minnesota Vikings picking 12, Derek Stingley Jr. So they get a top end cornerback falling to them out of LSU. At 13, Houston Texans are back on the clock, and no, they do not go quarterback. They go with Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. At 14, Baltimore, they stay big in the middle with Jordan Davis, interior defensive lineman out of Georgia. And at 15, the Philadelphia Eagles take the recently injured David Ojabo, edge rusher out of Michigan, who ruptured his Achilles tendon. But, you and I, we discussed it. Would that make him drop? And I think this is as far as he drops, a team that has 3 total first-round picks in this draft in the first round. I think a lot of people are freaking out about the Achilles, and it is a scary one. But it's not like this happened during the season. It happened during, a workout in March. I do believe that there's plenty of time to recover and actually come back later in the season. Now, he's going to miss some time this year. He won't be a guy that steps on the field day one, but he is a guy that potentially, especially for the Eagles who made the playoffs last season, he can be a guy who actually helps them in a late playoff push. I would expect him to be back come November, maybe early December, but play the last couple of months of the season.
Yeah, get a few games under his belt. I see where you're at with the recovery timeline. That makes sense. I just feel you made a compelling argument. This is the one team that I think can afford to do that. If Philly, for some reason, does not, I do think he falls a lot further, because I don't think there are that many teams that can afford to make a first-round investment that doesn't get on the field for them in the first, 10, maybe 12 weeks of the first season. So you hit the spot on the head, like, of anybody who can play the waiting game and wait for that payoff, it is the Eagles because of this draft. Makes a lot of sense to me. I hope that that's the way it works out for him. I hate to see somebody get hurt at this point in the evaluation process. It just sucks for everybody. And by the way, my second favorite was you gave Jordan Davis to the Ravens, and now Deshaun and everybody else in the division has to go screaming. I would be nervous, so I'm not lining up there. Well, I came back and I tried to finish off what you started with the Eagles, and gave them Trent McDuffie, a guy that can play off for them. I think he actually can play up and tighter man better than he's expected to, because he just didn't do it much at Washington. But I think that transition's there for him. Devontae Wyatt back to the Chargers. For everybody who has to cover the AFC West, I'm really tired of seeing this one. This makes me angry, but thanks. The Saints come back, and they take another chance on another injury, but one that's much farther along in recovery in Jameson Williams. That's kind of scary. Now, they also missed out on the Deshaun thing. So is it going to be Jameis? What are they going to do offensively? But that receiver is going to help you. I don't care how you get the ball in his hands. He will help you. And it's the same situation I gave the Eagles Traylon Burks for the same thing. Another way to help the quarterback that can do a little bit of everything. And for the Steelers, this is the first spot where I actually considered putting a quarterback. But at the end of the day, I kind of held off on it, because I think Trubisky can be a floater enough to get you through a season or two. I don't know that you make the investment now and you wait for the next class. I gave him Andrew Booth just to try to get a physical corner that I think can do a little bit of everything. I know, I think Steven Nelson left there. There's a couple of guys that Joe Hayden's getting older, I think there's a fit to be had.
Yeah, there's no Hayden, no Steven Nelson. They do have a Keller Witherspoon. I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers just locked up a Keller Witherspoon, but they are going to need someone more of a long-term solution there at the quarterback position. I was interested to see that you didn't go quarterback with Pittsburgh, and they did sign a quarterback, but I do think he's just kind of a holdover. But a holdover for what? All right, are they maybe going to attack the quarterback position in the second round? If so, then I could definitely see that. But they maybe ideally would have liked to see Malik Willis here at pick 20, but with him going in the top 10, obviously not available for him. Maybe Kenny Pickett, but with those small hands playing in that Pittsburgh weather, I don't care if he was able to do it in college. I think it's something that can potentially be an issue in the NFL, especially with the ball being slightly bigger. All right. Aside from that, Jameson Williams, really like what you did there for New Orleans. Hopefully they get a Michael Thomas back, get Michael Thomas, and he's healthy and he's all in, and they have Callaway. We'll see what happens with him. But add that guy that's a legit burner and really can work the field in different levels much better for the New Orleans Saints. That's going to be pivotal. When we come back, we're going to talk about the New England Patriots and what they do. Do they look to help Mac Jones on offense, or do they continue to bolster that defense? And obviously, there's plenty more picks that will be going. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about BetOnline. And right now, it's a college basketball tournament going on. I'm pretty sure everyone sees what's going on there, man. Brackets are messed up. And Ryan, have you done a bracket this year?
Oh yeah, my Jayhawks are still hanging in tight, man. We're all good
All
right
right.
now.
Well, I'm a UCLA fan and an honorary Arkansas Razorback fan. Both those teams are in, but how far would they go? You can bet on that at betonline.net for all the latest odds, contests, and player props. BetOnline is the number one source for all of your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball, not just a tournament or NBA. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering needs, including live betting at your favorite Vegas casino games. Head over right now to the website and use the mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. That's BetOnline, where the games start. All right, Ryan, I'm going to keep it going here. And as we kind of teased up, got the New England Patriots on the clock at pick 21. Do they go defense? They did lose J.C. Jackson. Maybe they're looking to kind of bolster up that secondary. Looking at it now, I think Kyra Elam would have been a terrific pick for them. I think he fits how they want to play defense. But I'm going to go receiver here, Jahan Dotson, wide receiver at Penn State. And I'm a little reluctant to do that because the Patriots, they really haven't had much success drafting receivers. Maybe Jahan Dotson changes that and kind of goes there. Maybe doesn't have to be the high volume guy, but can definitely stretch the field and work different levels. And I think Mac Jones, a lot of people talk about him like he just can't throw the deep ball, can't win vertically. He showed that he can do that at Alabama. Maybe he just needs the guys and the New England Patriots help him do that. At pick 22, Green Bay Packers are picking. I mean, this is they just had a trade with the Oakland Raiders. Raiders should be picking here. The Raiders acquired Devontae Adams. But that leaves a void for Green Bay Packers, especially at the receiver position. So we have them taking wide receiver out of Ohio State, Chris Olave. And at pick 23, Arizona Cardinals, they go with George Karlaftis. They've had some turnover at the edge position, losing guys, got an aging player there. I think Karlaftis can definitely help and be stout, an interchangeable guy between 4-3, 3-4, be an end there. The Dallas Cowboys, they bolster up the interior offensive line by taking Zion Johnson out of Boston College. And at pick 25, got Buffalo Bills taking Kyler Gordon, someone who I think is going to be able to kind of fit that off coverage, cover 4 type scheme that Buffalo has been known to run, especially with Tre'Davious White. You're losing Levi Wallace. I think Gordon kind of step in and be that guy, cornerback out of Washington.
Yeah, they've done some interesting things in the Bills, and I do like that fit for the amount of off that they played at Washington. That Gordon should be able to fit right in over there. I wonder if the league sees him as high as I do in that spot, because I would agree with you. We'll see if he actually falls that far. I think the best fit here in this group for you, and if you hadn't taken Dotson for the Patriots, I would have said go to the Packers, because Olave to the Packers, very similar skill set in terms of a little bit of everything they can do. Now you don't get the yak with Olave. I don't think you survive contact quite as well. So I would have liked to see those switched myself, but I think they're going to be happy with anybody that, with the departure, the inexplicable departure that we haven't even had a chance to talk about yet of Devontae Adams. Anything you can do to get more weapons now, you have to do. So I think you end up with a guy who could, by year 3, be the hands down best receiver in this class in Olave. So I love the fit there. I'm really interested to see what the Cowboys can do if they fortify with Zion Johnson. That's a nice fit as well. I kind of doubled up and went the other way for the Titans, who I had been mocking with, somebody in the trenches or a linebacker. Ended up deciding, you know what? With Julio Jones being released, like, you got to go replace that. You need somebody that can win in the air, and Drake London just seems like a perfect fit for that. That Tannehill's not going to stretch the field deep all the time. Like, he needs somebody that can make some catches for him, and I definitely like that fit that could come across.
And they did trade. Well, they did trade for Robert Woods, and we'll see how he recovers from the torn ACL and when he's able to come back and make an impact. But even then, you have AJ Brown. He's kind of banged up a lot this past season. Even when he was playing, having AJ Brown, adding Robert Woods, I do think they still need to address the receiver position even a little bit more, because outside of that, it still leaves a little bit to be desired. So go ahead, really load up and make the receiver position more of a strength of the offense.
Yeah, if you have any chance of balancing out Derrick Henry, that's got to be it. So there you go. Went Kyer Elam down to the Bucks. I know they signed 31-year-old, going to be 32-year-old Logan Ryan. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think they got to get younger at that position as well. So Elam to them. The Packers come back and get Boye Mafe, a guy that I think is going to be comfortable in the region. He's going to play well in December and January because he's played in Minnesota. He understands how it works up there. I think that's a nice fit. I think his explosion says all you need and is probably 180 degrees from what you saw with Smith in the back issue last year. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Gave the Miami Dolphins another target in George Pickens, just to kind of round that out and see what they can do. Evidently, they're going to bolster their offensive line. Looks like Teron Armstead is meeting with them soon. So they're going to try to put some tangible assets into that offense. And I think this makes sense as well. The Chiefs come back with Dax Hill in the departure of Tyrann Mathieu. You need a third safety because they want to play dime a lot. And I think that's a really nice fit. You can drop him into the nickel or let him play robber a little bit. I like that. Came back with Kenyan Green. This was the toughest pick of this whole draft for me because of what they've done. Lyle Collins, they've bolstered the inside a little bit. Kenny Green's honestly at this point was the best player on my board, and he was just too good to pass up because
so it was more so it wasn't as much. Well, they an overreaction to the bad offensive line that they had last year because they have put some resources into that. You talked about them, signing the center/guard out of Chicago and also Lyle Collins. But it's like, well, they need a little bit more help than even that to really kind of bolster it up and make it more of a strength so you can get back to being more of a high-powered offense and lean kind of on the explosive plays that they were able to get last season.
This is overbuilding the offensive line so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah, this is having enough to go six. If you want to get your best six guys out there, you can. Take the tight end off the field, split them out. You know what I mean? But you always have your injury-proof at this point. Kenny can go out to tackle if you need him. He can play any position along that offensive front. Now, I'll bet that if not as a rookie, at least partway through the rookie season, he will take over a starting position on that line no matter what. And then even though it says Detroit next to the number 32, I don't think that ends up being the team, but I think the pick is still the same. I think it's Kenny Pickett, somebody trading up to get a quarterback, the last pick of the first round to get that fifth year.
And we have been mocking Matt Corral to the Detroit Lions there late, but Kenny Pickett, he falls in this draft, and in his first round, we only had 2 quarterbacks go. I think that's the lowest we've had so far. Typically, we have at minimum 3. If you were to say, one pick in this draft that kind of like shocked you, maybe a guy falling a little bit further than you expected or someone going a little bit higher than expected, what pick, kind of scrolling through, what pick do you think that would be?
For me, it's probably Karlaftis. I don't have him as a first-round grade. Yeah. I don't see enough explosion and enough variability to make me think that he's going to survive well. I think he will eventually become a solid starter. I like him better as a 3-4-5 tech rather than a true edge on a 4-man front. So that's a tough one to really, it has to be a perfect fit for the scheme that you're going to run. And I just didn't see that one.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's probably Green Bay Packers taking Boye Mafe, edge rusher out of Minnesota, who I think is tremendous. He's had a really good offseason between the Senior Bowl, the workouts there, the Combine, and then he followed that up with his pro day. We'll see when people start to kind of revisit the film where the things that they believe that he might be a little bit more green at and needs a little bit more time, where the team see it and say, you know what? Nah, I think he's going to be fine. We can work on this and take it to the next level. If so, maybe Green Bay is a good spot for that. They did lose to Darius Smith, and they're kind of getting cheaper there on the defensive line. They brought back the other Smith brother, but adding a Boye Mafe can definitely shore up what they have from a pass rush perspective. So I like that. Also, Orlandis Gary. That's an old running back. Was it Denver?
Yeah, Broncos? I like it too.
But Rashawn Gary. All right. So also Rashawn Gary, they have him as well. So plenty of pass rushers. I think in the NFL, you can't have enough. If it were me building the team, I'm definitely building from the front, back, and having 3 guys like that I feel can be interchangeable, move around, and really get after quarterback. I think that would be really good for the Green Bay Packers.
You could have just saved me and taken somebody else besides Olave with Packers' first pick, and then I would have had the wide receiver I wanted.
Right. Awesome. But we're going to get into more of that, discuss those things. We definitely have to get a little bit more into the trades that happened. Deshaun Watson going to the Cleveland Browns. What effects does that have, not just in the first round, but throughout that draft, as well as some of the teams that weren't able to get them? Will they still be in the market for a quarterback? We're going to talk about all that as well. We also want to get the Detroit Lions host on this show so we can dive into what exactly are the Lions thinking at pick 2. But we want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go ahead, listen to Locked On 49ers with myself and Brian Peacock, and listen to Ryan Tracy, Locked On Chiefs. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NFL Draft. Hit the like button, subscribe button on YouTube. Also, of course, we're streaming on any platform you listen to your podcast on. But we're out of here, guys. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.